Let's make some tech art. How does that sound? Good? Yeah? Okay, that's good. Hello, hi, how you doing? I'm TechDweeb. Actually, no, today I'm ArtDweeb. This is going to be a very different video than what I usually do. Today I'm going to make some art, some tech art. The reason that I'm making this tech art, I did this last year too. I'll link to that video if you haven't seen it. So there's this foundation that I'm doing this for. This is a charity piece for an art show called Ramp Up. The charity is called StopGap, and they make these ramps that provide wheelchair accessibility to businesses that aren't wheelchair accessible. It's called StopGap because, it's like a temporary measure to give businesses an easy way to offer accessibility, but it's not a permanent solution. So they make these ramps, and every year they do a fundraiser where they have artists paint on little mini versions of the ramps. This is one right here. As you can see, it's a little ramp, Anyways, they have lots of artists make their paintings on these ramps, and then they auction them off in an event. And all the profits go right to StopGap to help them make more ramps. The real ramps, obviously. So more and more stores and public places can become more accessible. So yeah, that's what's happening today. We're making some art. And this is going to be some tech art. I made one last year. This is the one that I made last year, and it turned out really good, and it was fun to do. I like painting and making art, so this year we're going to do something very different than what I did last year. I had a bunch of ideas I was playing around with, but I've picked one, and it's going to be a fun one. My goal is to do something more abstract, something that will look like a familiar tech thing, but only for tech dweebs like you and me who know what the thing is. Have I intrigued you? I hope so. Well, let's get started on this thing, shall we? One of the dweebs who's organizing the StopGap Gallery fundraiser is a buddy of mine. He's in a wheelchair, and this guy is a freaking badass in his chair. He does like marathons and plays sledge hockey and stuff. Anyways, he does this gallery, and he knows that I'm into making art, so last year he asked me to participate, and of course I was into it, and that's why we're here again this year, to make a cool art for a good cause. So maybe you know this about me, maybe you don't, but I fancy myself a bit of an artist. I went to art school. I learned how to do painting and illustration and animation, and I've done lots of projects over the years. I worked on a few video games, some board games, had some paintings up in some galleries. I don't really do it for a job as much these days, although I do take on projects as they come up. I got frustrated by the commercial art world because there's lots of really shady business practices that illustrators just get sucked into. And also, illustrators take a lot of abuse. It's not uncommon for an artist to get a job and they have to do the work up front. They got to put in dozens of hours into it, and then when the time comes to get paid, it's like, oops, the project isn't going ahead. Sorry, there's no money for you. That can be mitigated by contracts and legal stuff, but even then, it's not usually worth an artist's time to pursue legal action. It's easier just to take the hit to your time and your ego and move on. I had a few bad experiences in a row, and shortly after that, I found that I love making YouTube videos, so I thought, maybe it would be a good time to try something else. I still love art though, as you might have noticed. I've done art for my channel. I love making silly drawings. I love making animations. I love making pixel art. I love using tech to make art, and I love painting, and I love making YouTube videos. I just love making stuff and sharing it. In my life, I'm at my happiest when I'm making stuff that I want to make, when I'm free of anyone else's expectations and I'm just doing a thing because I want the satisfaction of creating something that I'm happy with. And the dopamine hit that I get when I post it to social media, of course. The painting that I'm doing today, you've probably already identified what it is, but if you haven't, I won't ruin the surprise. This is supposed to be an abstract take on a familiar, iconic piece of tech. The idea here is to capture the essence of the thing, but create some awkward angles that breaks the perspective. Half because it's funny and silly, and half because it sort of disguises the subject. Anyone who doesn't know what's supposed to be depicted here will just see some pleasing shapes and angles. I love the idea of this hanging on a wall, and half the people who see it will recognize it instantly, and the other half will just see an abstract composition of shapes. It's like our little secret as tech dweebs. One of my favorite elements of art is texture. The more and more we lean into the world of digital art, the more real texture is being left out. There are things that only happen with paint These patterns that can only be made by a real brush, happy accidents that exist only because you're smearing paint across a chunk of wood. I'm not being precious about it. You can definitely get texture in digital art and you can have happy accidents there, but it's just a little more special when you see something in real life with your own eyes that was made by someone else's real hands. And here we are putting the finishing touches on the thing, adding a few little punchy areas of shadow to create a bit of a layered look, and finally with that all-important signature that proves that this is a TechDweeb original creation. That's what makes this thing worth anything, right? The signature, that's the valuable part. And yeah, there it is, all done. If you haven't guessed what this is yet, it's a Nintendo, an homage to the NES, one of, if not the most iconic pieces of retro gaming tech that ever has or ever will exist. I am so happy with how this turned out. I had a great time exploring how to make the shapes here, how to abstract a Nintendo, like a confusing wrong future version of a Nintendo that doesn't really make sense. That's what I was going for. I really love the way the textures came out in the end. There's lots of subtlety that you're not going to see in the video. I tried to give each of these different sections different brushstroke styles and different emphasis of contrast, and looking at the video footage, it kind of bums me out that you guys can't see this with your own eyes. You'll just have to trust me, in real life there's a lot more to see because you can actually make out the real 3D texture of the paint. And there are subtleties that just don't come across in a video. That's YouTube for you though. One thing that is cool about the fact that this is a ramp is that the canvas itself has an interesting shape. So this will have a really unique look to it when it's hanging on a wall. And I always love painting right around the edges of the canvas, so it's interesting no matter which angle that you see it from. The only bad part that I'm bummed out about is that I don't want to get rid of this. I don't want to give it away. I need to send this off to the art gallery so they can be part of the fundraiser, and if it sells, it'll be on its way to its new home and I'll never see it again. I would absolutely love to have this on my wall. Maybe someday I'll do a copy of this, or even a series. How cool would that be? To make an abstract retro game console art series. Man, I would love to do that someday. And if I do, I'll definitely show it to you guys because, hey, that's why we're here, right? To bring you along for the ride of all the things that I choose to do with my time. All the tech things, at least. I'm TechDweeb, right? It's always got to be about the tech. Anyways, if you live in Canada, in the Toronto area, you can go see this painting in person at the Tangled Art Gallery from December 4th to December 8th. And I'll have all of the info linked below. But get this, the auction will be an online auction, and they are offering worldwide shipping. What does that mean? Do I really need to tell you? Yes? Oh, well, that means that if you want to own this thing that I made, this painting, an abstract Nintendo, a TechDweeb original made by my own two dweeby hands, and also support an awesome cause, then you can use the link in the description below and you can bid on this thing and freaking own it in your house. And then when people come over, some of them will say, oh, that's an interesting painting, neat shapes. And others will say, holy crap, you have a freaking abstract painting of a Nintendo, you legend. And every time you can say, yeah, but guess what? This was made by TechDweeb. And then they'll say, what? The TechDweeb? And then you'll say, yeah, the TechDweeb from YouTube. And they'll say, wow. And then some other stuff will be said. And I should probably just end the video because I might be rambling at this point. There's a distinct possibility of that. Thanks for watching and stuff. I hope you liked watching me play with paint. I hope you check out the link below if you want to buy this and support a good cause. I hope you click the thumbs up button if you like the video. And I hope you have yourself a great rest of your day because you made it to the end of the video, which means you're cool and you deserve it. That's it from me. I'm TechDweeb. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.